I looked on YouTube and to my surprise, no Wet n Wild review. So here's my review of Wet n Wild. I recently went there, and the first thing that you would notice is that there was a line when for the first time that you enter. Now they have 4 stations open, and then you went in line, and the first thing you realize, oh my goodness, this line takes forever. They got 4 people. They got like 2 or 3 people manning the stations. So you get to the front of mine after an hour of waiting, and then you realize you got 1 day ticket, which is $40, which is extremely overpriced. And then you'll see the annual passes, and that's really that Wet Wild relies on is the annual passes. So the second thing you realize when you enter the front of the line is that you realize everything here is overpriced. Now, the the third thing you realize is that the people here are all teenagers. Now, there's nothing wrong with hiring teenagers, but if you're gonna hire them, please at least give them some training. I can realize that Wet n Wild did not put at least enough training to for these teenagers to use the equipment effectively. We did not do that. So when I went in line, I waited about 20 minutes to even receive my my annual pass, which was extremely overpriced. I was set to give a lot of perks that one I did not receive. Now, the second thing, when you enter the park, you'll notice that it is not a large park. They have about 8 rides. And here's just some pictures. 1, 2, 3. That's not there. That's a different picture. There's not 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's about like four. There's about 8 rides basically. And a lazy river there, and there's a kid section. But the rides are fine. There's nothing wrong with the rides, except they had one problem where I was riding one of the rides and the water completely turned off for nothing, and I waited up there in the Las Vegas heat, which was like 100 degrees for like 20 minutes, and the water just magically turned on. I don't know what happened there. And another thing to look out for is that when you enter the lazy river, I entered with a bunch of friends that were splashing and being rowdy. The lifeguards don't do nothing because they're all teenagers. Now, please at least enforce some of the rules that go with the lazy river. You're supposed to relax. I was just trying to relax on the lazy river. The lifeguards did not do anything. And it was really just not a fortunate experience in the lazy river. Now, one of the perks that I was set to receive was if we look on here, was set to receive a free souvenir bottle. So halfway through the day, when me and my friends wanted the food, I set out and I asked, "Is this where I get my free souvenir bottle?" I did not. And she said yes, and then she said $20. And in my head, I knew she charged me for the souvenir bottle, and I paid for it anyways. I really don't care. I'm a kid. I don't pay the bills around over here, so it wasn't really just a big deal for me. But it did annoy me slightly. And another thing you'll notice that when you actually get in line is that the prices for the food around the park are very inconsistent. You'll walk into like the local restaurant area stand they have outside, and it'll say, like an icy will be $4 for a refill. Then on the side of the building, they'll say, "Oh, an icy refill is 99 cents." So stuff like that is just really inconsistent and can lead to a bad experience. Now, another thing that you realize that this is Wet n Wild, and it is a water park, which is basically a hot ground for spreading sicknesses and stuff like that during this time of the pandemic. I walked in there and I thought to myself, they are not taking any extra precautions or not following any measures. So just be aware of that. If you want to take the risk, maybe you'll get sick. It's extremely likely. They did not limit capacity. They only had one sanitizing station, and they checked my temperature. But that was only 3 things that they did, and that and so they don't take a lot of measures that were set in place. And Those are kind of it. As you can see, all the water slides are 6 minutes. So you got 6 minutes of new rides. Well, it's not new rides, but you know, another thing that is kind of a bummer is that parking is $8. I think that is also extremely overpriced. I was waiting in line for the food, and all I ordered was an icy. It took me about like 30 minutes just to receive my icy, as well as my friends to receive their burger. It was everything there took forever, except waiting in line. Of course, they actually did a quite good job of getting people through the rides, but no precautions were taken or anything like that. Um, One thing that what you will notice is that there is a park right next to it. I'm not sure if I can find it. Let me find it real quickly. Yeah, there is a park right here, and so I really thought that was a fun time going to the park. I personally had a much fun time, like 15 minutes after just hanging out at the park, than I did actually in the water park. So it is, and this is another just quick reminder. This is a very tiny park. It struck me by surprise how small this was. Because you'll walk in and it looks really big, but then you'll walk in and you'll realize I can walk from here to here in like 2 minutes. So it's just a large park and it does get very packed and no precautions were taken or anything like that. So you walk in and this right here is $8 for parking, and so there's no real guarantee or anything like that. And um, let me try to remind myself if there's anything else. Oh, one thing that I did think is that maybe this was a COVID thing or not, but the lifeguards there would get the little they give you a mat so you can ride down the slide, and so they dipped the mat in water and then handed it to me. I don't know if that was a COVID thing, but I would think to myself that just soaking it in water does not get rid of any germs or anything like that. But I'm not sure if that was a COVID related thing or not. And they did have a little kid section, so there is like some rides for some toddlers in there. There's a big patch of grass for just basically sitting down, and it is all surrounded by resident buildings and stuff. And and the average age for an employee there would probably be 18. They did not invest in any training, and there's nothing wrong with hiring a bunch of young people. Young people should look for the opportunity to get a job and kind of learn about that experience because it is an important part of life. But when you hire someone, you need to at least give them some training, and I did not believe that Wettenwald did that effectively. And that is, hey, let's take a look at the little map you'll have here. So you walk in, right? You wait in line for an hour, so you're spending an hour in here. Walk in. The gift shop is like right here, which is it's like $17 for some sandals if you didn't bring any. Now, oh, another thing that I realized is that when you go to the front, it said no attractions will be closed today, and so I get my $17 sandals, and I go, and it's $6 for a locker. It was only be 8, both of my discount because of my annual pass that I got. It was $6. So I walk in here, and so I like, whoa, why don't we ride this thing? This looks really cool. It's closed. That was misleading. The sign at the front said it wouldn't close, but whatever. And then we ride all these rides, which was one. Actually, no, we didn't ride that ride, but that's not the point. One, two, three. So basically, there's 8 rides, but actually, there's 12 here, probably counting little kid rides. But the rides that I rode were like one, two, three. But basically, the rides for adults were the ones that I rode. And just giving the formal review of the park, the wave pool, everything was just really packed. You should expect that. It was a very tiny park, and just rating it from 1 out of 10, I would probably give it around I give it a 6. This was my first experience at a water park, so just keep that in mind. But I would give it like a 6. Did I have a fun time there? Is the question, or like that I just asked myself. I guess I did have a fun time over there, but not because of the park. Definitely because of my friends. The park did not contribute anything at all. It just, I would have had the same amount of fun if we just hung out at the park. So I guess that's my final conclusion with this place. 1 out of 10. I guess I'll give it like, I guess I'll give it a 4. One out of 10. 4. Could have been worse. Could have been a lot better. But just invest in some staff training so you can get everything running like that. You will spend 2 hours just waiting for things, and you'll spend like 5 minutes waiting in line for the rides, but 2 hours waiting for everything else. Even entering the park took way too long. Just my review: invest in some staff training, take precautions for the COVID thing going right now, and just get stuff moving faster. That would be my review of the place. 1 out of 10, it would be a 4. And go if you would like to, but I think you would have a better time at the park. See you guys.